I'm Veronica Dudo in Washington, D.C. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly. Standstill at sea after the U.S. seizes a cargo ship near Iran. Traffic in the Strait of Hormuz slows to a halt. What it could mean for the ceasefire. Santa Maria, Mãe de Deus, rogai por nós. Moment of Marian prayer. Pope Leo XIV leads the Rosary in a gathering of tens of thousands. We have more highlights from his apostolic trip to Africa. Virginia vote. There are no candidates in this special election, and it is still gaining national attention. We'll tell you why it matters. Plus, happy birthday, remembering the foundress of EWTN on what would have been her 103rd birthday. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the feast of St. Agnes of Montepulciano. Our top story tonight, Pope Leo XIV has wrapped up his 8th day of his apostolic trip to Africa. In Angola, the Holy Father's message stressed that Christ is alive and close to those who suffer. EWTN journalist Zofia Tubeck has more.
The third leg of Pope Leo's trip to Africa is well underway. The Holy Father landed in Angola on Saturday. After landing in Luanda Airport, he was welcomed by President João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço and 2 children who gifted him flowers. He then met with Angola's local authorities, representatives of civil society, and the diplomatic corps, where in his address he highlighted the material riches upon which powerful interests lay their claim. On Sunday, Pope Leo celebrated Mass in Quilamba, with more than 200,000 faithful in attendance. In his homily, he tied the story of the road to Emmaus in the Gospel of Luke to the daily lives of Catholics living in Angola.
Caríssimos, a boa nova do Senhor.
Dear friends, the good news of the Lord, even for us today, is precisely this. He is alive, He is risen, and He walks beside us as we journey along the path of suffering and bitterness, opening our eyes so that we may recognize His work and granting us the grace to start afresh and rebuild the future.
The next stop was Mushima, the shrine of Mama Mushima, or Mother of the Heart, where he prayed the Rosary with the faithful. Today, Pope Leo XIV travelled to Sarimu, where he visited a care home for the elderly and was welcomed with singing. After that, 300,000 Catholics attended the Mass celebrated by the Holy Father at the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption, and he encouraged Angolans to be strong in their faith despite current challenges like war and economic hardship.
In the face of these evils, Christ hears the cry of the people and renews our history by lifting us up from every fall, comforting us in every suffering and encouraging us in our mission. Just as the Eucharist is the living bread that He never ceases to give us, so too His history knows no end.
Pope Leo ended his day meeting with bishops, priests and consecrated persons of the local church at the parish of Our Lady of Fatima. Tomorrow he will head to Equatorial Guinea. In Rome, Zofia Tubeck for EWTN News Nightly.
Joining us now is Archbishop Zeferino Zeca Martins of the Archdiocese of Huambo in Angola. Your Excellency, thank you for joining us. What does it mean for the people of your Archdiocese that Pope Leo is visiting Angola?
Yeah, for our people, really it's a blessing that the Pope Leo XIV is coming to visit us, to be with the Christians, Angolan Christians, not only the Christians, but all the Angolan people, to bless them, as St. Peter did to those new converted to Christianism. So our people are really very happy because when His Holiness will be among us, He will, through the Angolans, speak to the world, give a word of peace, a word of joyness, a word of unity in the world of, I would say, a blessing world to our people here.
What do you think will be the legacy of this trip after the Pope leaves?
Now this is the third Pope coming to our country, to Angola. And the actual situation now, the claims for reconciliation, because the souls of our people, they are still somehow not encountered together as a really one family. Look, that in November, last November, when our country celebrated 50 years of independence, the Catholic Church held a Congress of Reconciliation and Peace among the Angolans. And I think His Holiness, when will arrive here to our country, he will give a word of reconciliation, of peace, of coming together as one family. So in that way, Angolans can build up the country. And of course, here in Angola, most of the people are Catholics. Out of 70% are Catholic, but more than 95% we are Christians here in Angola. And how good it sounds if we come together as one family and build up the country as Christians we are in one hand, and in the other hand as Angolan citizens we are.
Archbishop Martins, thank you. Since the start of his visit to Africa, Pope Leo's comments about war and peace have been interpreted by many as rebukes of the Trump administration. But on his flight to Angola, the Holy Father rejected the suggestion that his remarks were aimed at the U.S. president. Here's what the pontiff had to say.
There's been a certain narrative that has not been accurate in all of its aspects, but because of the political situation created when on the first day of the trip, the President of the United States made some comments about myself. Much of what has been written since then has been more commentary on commentary, trying to interpret what has been said. Just one little example, the talk that I gave at the prayer meeting for peace a couple days ago was prepared 2 weeks ago, well before the President ever commented on myself and on the message of peace that I am promoting. And yet, as it happens, it was looked at as if I was trying to debate again the president, which is not in my interest at all.
After those comments, Vice President J.D. Vance took to X, thanking the Pope for his statements, adding, Pope Leo preaches the gospel as he should, and that will inevitably mean he offers his opinions on the moral issues of the day. The president and the entire administration work to apply those moral principles in a messy world. He will be in our prayers, as I hope that we'll be in his. New this afternoon, President Donald Trump says he is under no pressure to make a deal with Iran, but he still says it will happen relatively quickly. This as tensions rise around the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump told one news outlet today that it was highly unlikely he would renew the 10-day ceasefire with Iran before it expires midweek. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
Veronica, President Donald Trump warns tonight no more Mr. Nice Guy if a deal with Iran does not happen. Now, efforts to extend the ceasefire with Iran may be in doubt. Iran insists no more talks or negotiations are set for Pakistan.
Motor vessel Tosca, vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
Near the Strait of Hormuz, after issuing warnings, the U.S. attacks and later seizes by force motor vessel Tuska, an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. President Donald Trump says it tried to get past our naval blockade, and it did not go well for them. He writes, the Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. The Tuska is under U.S. Treasury sanctions because of their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board. The seizure of the cargo ship marks the first interception since the U.S. began blockading Iranian ports last week. Iran's Joint Military Command says Tehran will respond soon and calls it an act of piracy. Iran's president writes, honoring commitments is the basis of meaningful dialogue. Deep historical mistrust in Iran toward U.S. government conduct remains, while unconstructive and contradictory signals from American officials carry a bitter message. They seek Iran's surrender. Iranians do not submit to force. Issues that derailed the last round of negotiations included Iran's nuclear enrichment program, its regional proxies, and the Strait of Hormuz. One retired general says the strait has been fortified for years and is not sure if there's a military option to open it by force.
Iranians now know they've got a real strategic asset, more useful than a nuclear weapon, and they've used it. And they don't believe we have an answer for it.
President Trump reiterating today in all caps, Iran can never have a nuclear weapon.
And today, President Trump also ripped that earlier Iran nuclear deal. He says a Trump deal would guarantee peace, security, and safety for Israel, the Middle East, Europe, America, and everywhere else. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Joining us now is Colonel William Bernard Dunn, a retired Marine Corps colonel and author of Gunfighter's Rule. Colonel Dunn, thank you so much for coming back on. What more do we know about the incident in which the U.S. took control of an Iranian ship?
Well, I think it was another outstanding demonstration on how serious the United States is taking the actions from Iran. We did what's called a VBSS, a Visit Board Search and Seizure. It was used by the Marine Corps, most likely from one of the Marine Expeditionary Units out there, although I have not seen that officially yet. And what we did is we disabled the ship. That is a plan that we have. And once the ship was disabled, we inserted a force. That force went in, and they have a very specific mission to take control of that ship. I have worked and trained on many Marine Expeditionary Units to do that mission. And so the team that went in is very specialized. They'll take control of the ship, and now that ship is in U.S. possession.
Now, there's a protocol that you just laid out for us. Additionally, in another situation, we heard reports that an oil tanker flying under an Indian flag made it through the strait. So this is happening as two other Indian vessels were turned back after hearing gunfire. Where do things stand when it comes to the strait right now?
Well, it's a blockade. And so every ship is going to be, in my opinion, treated somewhat differently. If it is a U.S. friendly ship, ideally we're probably not going to shoot at that ship, and so maybe one may sneak by or inadvertently get through. I would be cautious at using force against what I consider a friendly ship. That said, if there are antagonist ships like the Iranian ship, we cannot allow that to pass. So each ship should be taken as a separate mission, separate entity, and I think the way we're handling it is textbook. You're going to see some folks that'll complain that, hey, if one ship got through, is it fair? Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. We're going to prosecute this blockade at the way we choose to prosecute this blockade. And if a ship gets through, maybe it got through by design. And so there could be a reason why we let a ship go. That is going to be up to the CENTCOM commander and the commanders that are, on the ground or if you will, running that blockade. Yeah, that's going to be up to them. And they have their protocol, they have their mission set, and they know what to do. And they have their orders that probably come at some point all the way up from the president. And so I'm very confident that our commanders know exactly what they're doing and what their plan is, and they're going to execute this mission to the best of their ability.
You've been a part of similar missions. When we look at the Middle East, from your perspective, will any of what we're seeing in the Strait of Hormuz affect the ceasefire between Lebanon and Israel?
Well, it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't. They're two separate events. They're two separate, if you will, conflicts. However, as we've seen many, many times with Iran and the Iranian proxies, they may use this ship being hit as a reason to attack Israel, so that Israel will certainly respond. And that may be seen as a bargaining chip that Iran can use. But what Iran should be seeing is that they have zero few to zero bargaining chips left. If they do not come to an agreement with the United States, I am very certain we will see action taken by our president and by our military forces, as has been promised by the president.
Colonel William Bernard Dunn, thank you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, and have a wonderful day.
UK police arrested 2 men in connection to an arson attack on a London synagogue. This follows a series of similar incidents now being investigated as the possible works of Iranian proxies.
They have been arsons targeting Israeli and Jewish premises within London. Most have been claimed online by a group, Ashab al-Yamin, the Islamic movement of the Companions of the Right. The same group, in recent months, have claimed attacks across Europe.
This latest attack comes after a slew of incidents where Jewish or Israeli sites have been targeted. UK police have called it part of the modern war fought by proxies. Control of the U.S. House for the final 2 years of President Donald Trump's term could be at stake tomorrow. Virginia voters will decide whether to approve a Democrat plan to redraw their House districts. The proposal would create a 10-to-1 map that could potentially flip as many as 4 seats to the left. Democrats currently control 6 of 11 seats. Republicans accuse them of trying to rig the midterms. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us now. Eric, the stakes seem really high here.
Well, good evening, Veronica. Yes, the stakes are huge indeed. Tuesday's redistricting referendum in Virginia is one of the Democrats' last and best hopes to flip a handful of blue-leaning districts ahead of the midterms. Democrats have poured tens of millions of dollars into this effort, stating now is the time to stop President Trump's policies.
What were we supposed to do? Nothing? Just allow them to try to stack the deck, to try to steal seats? And all we're trying to do is meet them and try to make the system as fair as it possibly can be.
A side-by-side comparison of the map shows the new plan would limit Republicans to just 1 seat, running almost the entire western length of the Commonwealth.
90% of Virginians are not Democrats. That's true.
Correct.
But about 100% of Virginians want election results to be respected. We're deeply worried that Donald Trump will try to interfere with the election results this November or in 2028, because we saw him do it before.
He has forced states like Texas and North Carolina into hugely partisan redistricting, which would really cut off Virginia's voice. So we've got a chance, but only with the assent of Virginia voters, with you making a decision to vote yes and put a temporary change on redistricting in place.
The referendum allows the new districts to be redrawn for up to 3 election cycles until 2030. Republican Congressman Ben Klein's district could flip to Democrats.
Going from a 6-5 map in a purple state to a 10-1 Democrat map is just a political partisanship to an extreme.
Another vulnerable Republican, Congresswoman Jen Kiggins, won a close election in 2024 and is now a main target for Democrats to reclaim her military-heavy district around Norfolk.
People in Virginia, people here in the Commonwealth deserve representation that reflects their values, that reflects their political ideologies and priorities. And having 92% of our Commonwealth represented by one party certainly does not do that.
Former Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin is urging Virginians to vote no.
This is neck and neck, but we got to finish. And what's happened across the Commonwealth is Virginians, not just Republicans, are standing up and saying no, not here, no rigged maps.
And by the way, current polling shows support for the referendum with a slim lead, and early voting has been heavy. Meanwhile, Virginia Republicans are in a legal battle over the issue, a case that could be before the state Supreme Court, which opted to let Tuesday's vote proceed before deciding the merits of the lawsuit. So, actuality, the referendum could pass, but the court could undo the results. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
We have a lot more still to come on EWTN News Nightly. Loss in Louisiana. A deadly mass shooting takes the lives of 8 children. We have the tragic details. And the Supreme Court agrees to hear arguments involving the religious freedom of Catholic preschools. We have the facts of the upcoming case. Officials in Shreveport, Louisiana are offering support and pleas to combat domestic violence in the wake of one of the nation's deadliest mass shootings in recent years.
One of the things that I think is most important is that if you are experiencing abuse and violence in your home, seek the resources. Don't stay where you are. Seek the resources to escape. The biggest lesson that we have is that we must protect those who cannot protect themselves. There are resources available. Take advantage of those resources.
Officials say the shooter, identified as Shamar Elkins, fatally shot 7 of his children and another child in an attack against his family. The gunman's wife, who was the mother of some of the children, and another woman were critically wounded. Elkins was in the middle of separating from his wife. He died after fleeing a police pursuit that ended with officers firing on him. Japan is issuing a new warning tonight after a powerful offshore earthquake raises concern about a possible larger disaster. Officials say a magnitude 7.7 quake struck the northern coast earlier today, triggering tsunami alerts. A small tsunami was reported in some areas. No injuries or damage are reported. But authorities now warn there's a 1% chance of a much larger megaquake in the coming week. The alert comes as Japan marks 15 years since the devastating 9.0 magnitude earthquake that killed more than 22,000 people. Today, the Supreme Court agreed to hear arguments in a case involving Catholic preschools in the Archdiocese of Denver. At issue is a non-discrimination rule that the Archdiocese says excludes it from participating in a state-funded program. The rule prohibits preschools from refusing admission to anyone based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Joining us now is Nicholas Reeves, Senior Counsel at the Beckett Fund and the attorney for the families and preschools in the case. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us. First, can you tell us what the case hinges on and what is it that the schools cannot comply with that is leading to their exclusion from the state's funding for free pre-K classes?
Absolutely. So Colorado created a universal preschool funding program that gave all families in Colorado about $6,000 a year to send their kids to a preschool of their choice. But after creating this program, what Colorado did is they said Catholic schools are ineligible to participate because of their religious beliefs. This has been incredibly harmful for Catholic families in Colorado who both pay their taxes and have to pay out of pocket, while families at all kinds of other private schools and public schools in the state get free tuition.
The Archdiocese of Denver, 2 Catholic parishes, and parents of preschoolers, they're arguing that only families who support the Church's teaching on sexuality and gender should be admitted. They argue that states allow preschools to have admissions preferences for non-religious reasons. Can you explain that to us, and how is that a case that you're going to argue before the Supreme Court?
Absolutely. So Catholic schools across the country and in the Archdiocese of Denver ask that if a family attends the school, they should be open to the religious beliefs and the teachings of the school. And they've said, we welcome any family who can be open to what we're teaching. We don't want to teach something in school that contradicts what the family teaches at home, because these schools are helping parents to raise their children. So they say families that are open to our beliefs are welcome in our schools. And Colorado has branded that as discrimination. We actually think Colorado is the one discriminating here by keeping Catholic schools and Catholic families out of this universal benefit.
How do you think the Supreme Court will rule? And if you win, will it put an end to similar cases moving forward?
We're optimistic that the Supreme Court will rule in our favor. We think there are 2 different reasons for that. One is Colorado's granted all kinds of exceptions from its policy. It said, you Catholic schools are subject to this rule, but they look the other way when other preschools don't follow this rule. And the Supreme Court has said over and over again that you can't discriminate against religious people or apply a different rule to religious people. That's religious discrimination, and that's gerrymandering. In addition, the Supreme Court has said on 3 different occasions that you can't exclude religious individuals, like the families here, and religious schools from a generally available benefit, which is this universal preschool funding. So if Colorado is going to open up this funding to families and to private schools, what they can't do is only exclude families because of their religious beliefs.
Nicholas Reeves, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Up next on EWTN News Nightly, birthday blessings. EWTN founder's mother Angelica turns 103 today. We remember her legacy. Plus, an exciting announcement from EWTN's Spain affiliate.
All I did was sit on my left, yeah, so that my guardian angel could sit on my right. I stayed there the whole time I was in school. And somebody said, why don't you sit in the middle of your seat? I said, I don't want to sit on my guardian angel.
Even from a very young age, Mother Angelica was full of faith. Rita Rizzo was born 103 years ago today in Canton, Ohio. She went on to become an extraordinary nun, founding the world's largest Catholic media network. She touched tens of millions of lives, including our own, and we remember her today with love and gratitude. Mother Angelica's legacy lives on in a special way today with some exciting news. Starting today, EWTN España begins broadcasting 24/7, bringing crucial Catholic content to the nation of Spain all day, every day. We thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Veronica Dudo. Good night and God bless.